Welcome back to PSC's Tech Bytes. Today I want to keep on talking about how to create governance and monitoring tools and dashboards using Microsoft Graph APIs. In fact, in Microsoft Graph we have plenty of endpoints that we can use to list, for example, users or guests in a tenant, to look at the identity protection notifications like risky actions or risky users, to get the audit logs about sign-ins of users, and so on and so forth. So by using these endpoints, you can easily create your own monitoring tools, and eventually you can provide a service or a tool to your customers. As such, let me move to the demo environment. Let me show you some of these endpoints in action. So, for example, here we have the documentation page about how to manage and query the list of users. As you can see, you can do that with delegated or application permissions, and you simply need to rely on the /users endpoint. So let me switch to a demo tenant and let me show you how we can query users. So we can just run this query and get the list of users in a tenant. But we can also specify what kind of fields we want to retrieve for users. So for example, we can say that we want to select just the ID, the user principal name, the display name, and the user type, which is quite interesting, specifically if you want to identify just the guest users. In fact, you will simply need to add to your query this statement. You want to filter by user type equal guest, and you will be able to retrieve just the guest users in your tenant, which is really useful if you want to create a dashboard to provide information about how many guest users you have. And thinking about what we saw last week about how you can then see what is shared with, we can provide quite an interesting set of information to our users. Moreover, we can have a look at the list of risky detections and risky users in our tenant. So using the identity protection section of Microsoft Graph, and again, being able to use it with a delegated access token or with an application-only access token, we can get the list of risk detection. So let me show you what I mean. We can make such a query in your tenant. Of course, right now, in my tenant, I don't have any risk, but potentially you could be able to see the risks in your tenant. As well as you can make query for risky users, so that made riskful logins or activities. And again, simply use the risky users endpoint to get that information. Plus, you can also have a look to the sign-in events of your users, and again, either using delegated or application access token. And you simply need to rely on the audit log / sign-ins. And in order to do that, as it was with the identity protection section, we did the Azure Active Directory Premium 1 or 2 license, so we need to use a specific tenant with that license in place. Once you do that, you can get back a list of logs of sign-ins of users in your tenant, and you can do monitoring of that information as well. Last but not least, we have the secure score of every tenant, and we can play with this information to understand how secure is the tenant that we target with our query. And again, we can use a delegated or an application permission. And to do that, we don't need the premium license, but we just need a regular Microsoft 365 license. So I can go back to my demo tenant and I can make a query for the secure score of my tenant, and I can see, for example, that in this tenant my current score is 36, could be higher, but this is just a demo tenant, so I did not enforce the security on this tenant. So this is just to give you an idea of what you can easily do with Microsoft Graph, and if you want to create automated tasks or monitoring applications and dashboards, querying these APIs to provide useful information in order to monitor and do governance of your identity and security in Microsoft 365. Like always, thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week. And remember, subscribe to this channel. Thank you.